Hello, my lovely anatomists and physiologists. Welcome back to another episode of Chapter 15. Let's talk just a little bit more about the autonomic nervous system. And I like to sort of think in my head, automatic. Because what we see with the autonomic nervous system is it is the unconscious, or you can say involuntary control of effectors. Because remember, y'all, we are still here in a division of the efferent or efferent division. When we're talking about the effectors of the the effectors of the autonomic nervous system, we are talking about the control of the cardiac muscle, the control of the smooth muscle. Yeah, this is the muscle that's making up your organs. Cardiac muscle is, of course, your heart. Smooth muscle is the muscle that's found lining your blood vessels. It's the muscle in your respiratory tract. It's the muscle in your digestive tract. It's the muscle in your urinary tract. It's a muscle in your reproductive tract. And so what we're really talking about here is your visceral organs. We can add to this list of effectors glands. This is huge. This is sweat glands, both types. This is sebaceous glands. This is salivary glands. This is digestive glands. This is glands in the reproductive tract. This is endocrine glands. So this is a wide-ranging category. And along with glands, we can think here also adipose tissue, which is our fat storage tissue, which in some cases can act a little bit like a glandular tissue. That's what we'll see. And so really the big job of the autonomic nervous system then is going to be to regulate homeostasis, the internal workings of the body. And in order to do this, we have actually, two divisions of the nervous system, of the autonomic nervous system, and these are opposites of each other. So we're going to be studying in detail the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And let's remember too that we also have that enteric nervous system, which we can abbreviate as ENS, although we'll speak more about that when we get into the digestive system. The significance of the sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions are that they're opposites of each other. You know, if we are able to increase the heart rate, then we also need the ability to decrease the heart rate. And so that's what we're seeing when we're looking at the sympathetic and the parasympathetic divisions. A lot of our organs, a lot of these effector tissues will be what's described as duly innervated, meaning that both sympathetic and parasympathetic neurons are innervating the same tissue. Right? So we've just said the heart can be sped up or slowed down. So that means you'd have to have both sympathetic and parasympathetic innervation to that tissue. The other thing that I want to really pull out right here is as we are studying the sympathetic and the parasympathetic divisions, we're going to be looking at 4 distinct pieces of information, and we need to be able to do comparison and contrast. So we're going to be looking at the function of each. We're going to be looking at the organization of each. We're going to be looking at the neurotransmitters involved. Neurotransmitters, remember, are chemical messengers that are released at a synapse. And then we're also going to see a comparison of the receptors. The receptors, remember, are located on the target tissue or the effector tissue. It's part of the cell membrane of the cardiac muscle cell, or the cell membrane of the smooth muscle cell, or the cell membrane of the glands, or the cell membrane of the adipose tissue. So that's what we're talking about here. If we take a look at this next image, this is coming directly out of your OpenStax Anatomy and Physiology textbook. And what we're seeing here, we have a new terminology. Instead of really seeing an autonomic synapse looking like what we saw at the neuromuscular junction between the motor neuron and the skeletal muscle fiber that we studied in AP1, we really have these autonomic varicosities. And so these are little bulges along the axon of the autonomic neurons fibers, where we're seeing the release of the neurotransmitter. And so this is important. This is important because we're getting an extensive network of connections. And so if you look at this image here, you see that you have your autonomic axon spreading along. That's going to be a picture of smooth muscles. That's one of our effector tissues. And as those axons branch and branch and branch, you get these enlarged swellings. And these enlarged swellings are called varicosities. And these swellings, these varicosities, are full of synaptic vesicles. And so this is the way that we're releasing that neurotransmitter. We still are getting our synaptic cleft here. So we're still getting this space in between the neuron and the effector tissue. We're still using a neurotransmitter, but we don't have a synaptic knob. We're not at the end of the axon, right? We're along the length of the axon. And so we're seeing that is creating this extensive network of connections. So this is just a nice picture for you to keep in mind as we proceed with our conversation. Up next, sympathetic nervous system. Stay tuned. As always, take care of yourselves and each other.